This is Nigeria, a nation that has the highest population density in Africa. Surprisingly, it is a country endowed with numerous natural resources, such as iron ore, petroleum products, fertile land, and an abundance of water. With all of this abundance, investors are expected to flood the country to make the most of what is already a blessed land. Despite being envisioned as the Black China, Nigeria faces some internal challenges. Why is the Nigerian economic ranking not where it should be? Is the country truly capable of being dubbed Black China? Watch this video until the end to find out. When you're standing ankle deep in the trash on a dusty street, watching children and young men load a trolley with 8-gallon jugs of water intending to sell them door to door to homes without indoor plumbing, it's difficult to imagine Nigeria as a superpower. Expectations for the country have previously been high, and especially a few years after gaining its independence in 1960, and even during Africa Rising enthusiasm a decade ago. Despite this, Nigeria has remained near the lowest point of the economic indicators used to evaluate nations: social growth, governance, human development, peacefulness, fragility, innovation, corruption, and business climate. Asian nations have taken off. Nigeria is indeed not a failed state, but it is also not a prosperous one. According to Oj Onevage, Director of Africa Programs at the U.S. Institute of Peace, Nigeria lurches from crisis to crisis. Still, whenever you presume it's about to bolt up, it pulls itself back. With a population of more than 216 million people and mineral abundance, we can assume there would be a lot of growing competition in the country. Furthermore, zooming out on the map to see how much space they occupy in the world will reveal a lot about their landmass. People would naturally expect a country so endowed with land, people, and natural resources to rank well in industrialization and social growth. Unfortunately, the statistics do not match the story. It is currently in one of these crises. According to Yemi Koijo, a member of the Nigerian American Multicultural Council in Houston, all Nigerians want is a decent life. She claims that it all comes down to basic services. Sadly, it's really tough right now in Lagos State, which is regarded as Nigeria's leading state in terms of economic status. If it's bad in Lagos, imagine how bad it is in the rest of the country. The average person desires shelter, security, medical services, and power. Meanwhile, the population is growing at a rate that is more than twice that of the global average. This is particularly the case in the north, where the average fertility rate is around 8 children per woman. With the exception of Lagos, local governments experience difficulties in tax collection and providing basic services. The capacity to acquire a generator and bottled water is considered middle class. The security situation is even more concerning to the majority of Nigerians. Every day, 7 Nigerians from the middle class and farm workers are kidnapped and exploited for ransom. The Abuja-Kaduna highways were abandoned, and most people prefer the option of traveling by train. Until recently, in March 2022, when a terrorist attack on a train killed so many people, some people are forced to use air, while the less privileged have only the highway option. According to the majority, the security situation is interconnected to the economy, and those who commit cyber fraud, piracy, extortion, and robbery are doing so because they have no decent way to participate and earn from the harsh economy. They are the nation's entrepreneurs of violence. Making progress is difficult anywhere, but it is especially difficult in Nigeria. A complex set of policies and agreements maintains peace among Nigeria's many constituencies, with over 250 ethnicities evenly divided between Muslims and Christians. In practice, this makes it difficult to accomplish anything. For 19 years, a bill to ensure fairness in the petroleum industry was submitted to the National Assembly. Many people are also resistant to change. In the central bank in 2014, Sunusi was fired for exposing corruption. Boko Haram, bandits, and gunmen attacked the mosque next door to the Emir's palace shortly after he was appointed the Emir of Kano, killing over 120 people. Nigeria's official exports are made up of 97% oil. The benchmark price of oil has fluctuated between $15 and $146 per barrel over the last 21 years. Excess spending, subsidized imports of refined petroleum, vanity public works, currency manipulation, and high levels of protectionism have all been encouraged by high oil prices. Nigeria lavished on international events such as the 2003 All-Africa Games during the oil boom. It was spent on grandiose projects, such as the Mashood Abdullah National Stadium in Abuja's new national capital, in the Nigerian space program that has now launched 5 satellites. Nigeria has been compelled to borrow during periods of low prices. Oil has also wreaked havoc on the environment. Despite progress, international companies have a long history of subpar practices, such as gas flaring, which adds significantly to climate change and environmental disasters caused by bandits. These bandits steal oil from the nation's pipelines alongside some business owners who operate illegal kerosene and diesel refineries and chuck their waste product into the waterways and land. Before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, TechnoGlobal Innovations. Let's get back to the video. Is Nigeria truly capable of being dubbed Black China? Perhaps there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Despite the violence, red tape, and corruption, Nigeria's economic strength could rival China's. Nigeria might just be able to realize its enormous potential, and it follows the same path as China to success: the economy. That appears to be unthinkable, but this is only because we are familiar with the China of 2022. Some of us remember China as a sleepy panda 40 years ago. After 5 East Asian economic miracles, it's easy to see China as part of a trend. It's difficult to envision an African economic miracle, only because we have never witnessed one. It is difficult to transform an economy, but China has taken the word impossible out of the equation. China was among the world's most primitive and impoverished countries when Mao Zedong died in 1976. The GDP per capita, which is basically a measure of average earnings, was around $200. Deng Xiaoping came to power 2 years later and liberated the economy. It blew up. The average annual income is now approaching $10,000, and 850 million people have been lifted out of poverty. The transformation was completed in record time. For most people that visited the country a few years before 2000 could only commend China's growth on their next visit in the early 2000s. Nigeria's current numbers are eerily similar to China's prior to reform. China's poverty rate in 1978 was 55%, almost identical to Nigeria's most recent statistics. Adult literacy in China was only 65%, compared to 62% in Nigeria. Today, China has a near zero poverty rate and a literacy rate of 97%. If comparing Nigeria to China appears overly ambitious, what about India? Nigeria and India share several characteristics. Both are former British colonies, with a staggering number of 2,000 ethnic groups in India, religious conflicts, endemic corruption, and a devoted, well-educated diaspora. Prior to 1991, India had a highly regulated socialist economy, with extreme protectionism for local production and controversial bureaucracy and red tape levels. Faced with the prospect of default, Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao and the then Finance Minister Manmohan Singh embarked on a reform program that included lowering tariffs, reducing bureaucracy, and opening the economy to competition and foreign investment. GDP per person increased from $368 to $2,010. Most of the particular instance of Nigeria's potential, as with China and India, boils down to one word: size. Large countries have significant advantages over small countries' economic efficiencies and ability to attract both national and international investment. The potential of China's massive domestic market, rather than its usefulness as a source of low-cost goods, drew foreign investment in the 1980s. Of course, Nigeria, like China in 1978 and India in 1990, has economic policies that stifle growth and productivity. The government exerts excessive control while providing insufficient support, such as basic services and infrastructure. Some people believe that businesses pray to the government not to notice them. Another describes a constant stream of governments coming through my office, attempting to shake me down. As a result, the government cannot gain as much as the country requires from taxes, and business owners are also unwilling to pay taxes. Only in 2019 have some puzzle pieces begun to fall into place. Nigeria has a functioning capital market and stock exchange. Certain areas of the country are flourishing. Some enthusiasts point to Lagos State as an outstanding framework for future Nigeria. It's dynamic, and things work because the government receives tax payments and reinvests them in providing infrastructure and services. the export sector is evolving. According to Nevin, Nigeria's most precious export is now its citizens, not oil. Approximately 6 million Nigerians live abroad, the majority in the United Kingdom and the United States. The diaspora has a high level of education. Almost 1/3 of Nigerians in the United States have advanced degrees. This diaspora is also deeply committed. Remittances, or money sent back to Nigeria by those working abroad, bring Nigeria more money each year than foreign aid. According to Nevin, formal and informal cash transfers could total up to $40 billion. However, the diaspora offers much more than money. It provides real-time access to Western understanding and technology. Nigeria also has a thriving entertainment and arts industry, which generates both export revenue and national pride. Nigeria has produced an astonishing number of first-rate musicians and novelists, including Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka, Chinua Achebe, whose novel Things Fall Apart has been translated into 57 languages, Bayo Bandele, and Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. It has also received international recognition in the music industry, with artists such as Burna Boy, Wizkid, and Davido attracting large crowds in foreign countries. But there's more in the positive column. Oil, entertainment, and the diaspora are all well-established industries. The future, however, banks on companies that are yet to be on the radar. Nigeria has a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem. Yaba in Lagos is known as Nigeria's Silicon Valley. It has received backing from international technopreneurs, such as Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg. Nigeria excels in fintech and telecommunications, and the high-tech boom is not limited to Lagos. Amal Hassan has grown Outsourced Global Technologies into a world-class provider of outsourced call center operations. Her company has offices in Kaduna and Abuja in the northern part of the country. Nigeria's politics may be flawed, but it is still a democracy. Nigeria has held 5 elections with increasing legitimacy since it shifted from the military regime in 1999. 2015 saw the end of the dominant party in a peaceful election, which is no small feat in sub-Saharan Africa. An entire generation of its citizens has had no recollection of undemocratic rule. It has a largely free press and a thriving civil society. Subsequently, the democratic governments have invested so much in protecting the nation's democracy by reducing the military, which has traditionally been the greatest threat. They have deliberately prepared the country for a coup by weakening the army, retiring senior officers, and reorienting it as an internal security force dispersed across the country. Investors have yet to enter Nigeria, but they are keeping a close eye on the situation. The BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, were once discussed for their economic potential. MENT stands for Mexico, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Turkey. The future appears bright, and we hope to see Nigeria rise to where it's supposed to be in terms of growth. If you like this video about why Nigeria, like China, is becoming Africa's first superpower sooner than you think, then make sure to watch any of the videos on our YouTube channel, TechnoGlobal Innovations.